Hello there, how are you? No, really, how are you really? As you can probably tell, my voice is a little bit croaky today. I've come back from the US of 2 weeks of speaking, workshopping, and my voice is still recovering. So again, how are you really doing? Because honestly, if your answer is hanging on by a thread or one more Zoom glitch away from a total and utter breakdown, you're not alone. There is no doubt that we are living in this weird moment right now where everything feels just a little bit wobbly. Clients might be sitting on their hands, waiting for decisions to be made. Projects may be stalling. Social media is doing its own little dance. And sometimes that silence after you send out that brilliant proposal, maybe it's louder than a stadium crowd. I had a moment the other day myself, standing in my kitchen. I was on my third cup of coffee and I found myself talking to the dog. Yeah, I've even got myself to that point. And I just blurted out, what am I even in control of anymore? And that's what sparked today's episode, even with this croaky voice of mine. Because if you've been feeling a little bit rattled, maybe you've been a bit reactive, or feeling like the world is spinning a little bit too fast, I want to help you take your power back. That is what we're talking about today. So I want you to talk about what's the things that you are actually in control of. Where can you actually control things? Years ago, I came across this concept from Stephen Covey. Some of you may have heard it. And honestly, it's been one of those really sticky ideas that stayed with me. It just doesn't leave my brain. The idea is that there's these 3 concentric circles. You've got your circle of concern, your circle of influence, and your circle of control. Now, this isn't just theory. This is one of those concepts that I've actually lived through, I've cried through, I've ranted at my mentor about, and ultimately I've rebuilt my business from. So I want to dig into those, and I'm going to keep it really real. So the first circle that Stephen Covey talks about, this outer circle, is what he calls the circle of concern. I call it that spin zone. You know the space. It's where you worry about everything. Will the economy recover? Will that big client ghost me again? Will that next reel that I do bomb, or will it go viral? All these things that either keep you awake or that wake you up at 2 a.m. in the morning with a racing mind and a bucket of self-doubt. You know the things. I get it. We're leaders. We're empaths. We care. But here's the truth. You cannot control any of this stuff. And spending too much time here is like trying to herd cats in a hurricane. So when I catch myself spiraling, and trust me, it happens a lot, I ask, is this mine to fix? And if not, I bless it and I release it with love. Usually also with a big deep breath and maybe a tiny little swear word. So that's that first circle, the circle of concern, the outer circle. The second circle that Covey talks about is the circle of influence. And this is one of really beautiful, quiet power. This is where things get exciting. It's not about having total control, but it is where your energy has the opportunity to move the needle. You see, you can't stop a market slowing down, but you can reconnect with past clients. I was literally on a conversation with a new client this morning who was telling me about her 3 to 4 massive clients, 6-figure clients that she hasn't heard from in months. And this is the thing that I'm talking about. Her view was that these clients were ghosting her. My view was that this is an opportunity for you to reconnect, to be in service, and to actually be a relationship creator versus waiting for those orders to come in. The thing is, you can't fix people's decisions. But as I said, you can reconnect with them. You can't stop a market slow down, but you can reconnect with past clients. You can't fix the algorithm, but you can create content that's so you and so powerful that it hits home regardless of likes. I remember during COVID when everything, like so many of us, went to hell in a handbasket. And I had 2 choices. I either went into panic mode or I went into, and I hate this word, but it was a choice, right? I had to choose to pivot. And so I chose to go back to my network. I chose to offer help, to check in. I chose to have real conversations. And guess what? That's when that momentum started coming back. Because when you focus on the things that you can control, and in this instance, it was the relationships, the connections that I already have. When I chose to focus on those, everything changes. So this is that circle of influence. And again, it's thinking about the things that you can influence that may not necessarily change the outcome because you can't control that, but you can influence the moving of the needle in the right direction, hopefully. Now, the final circle, this inner circle, is the circle of control. This is the real deal. This is where the magic absolutely lives. Here's what you can control: how you show up, what you say yes to, what you say no to. You can control your creativity, your energy, the time you put in, the effort. You can control your pricing. Yeah, I know I go on and on about that, but you can control your pricing. You can control how you're showing up with conviction and your worthiness. I can remember once being knee deep in client proposals. And I remember catching myself rewriting the same sentence for the 6th time because I was actually scared it wasn't perfect. But perfection, I mean, let's be honest, it's a lie that we tell ourselves when we're avoiding any level of discomfort. And so what I did is I pressed send. I could control it. I pressed send imperfectly. And guess what? The client didn't care. They just loved the clarity and the confidence. One of my own mentors, I remember, said something to me years ago that stuck with me. I was in one of those moods, the dramatic, spiraling, convinced the sky was falling apart mood. And she simply asked me, Jadine, what are you in control of right now in this very moment? And gosh, it just stopped me in my tracks. And here's the kicker. What I found myself doing was this exact same thing only last week. At our recent Inner Circle and Elevate Immersion, we were deep in strategy. We were planning out the next 90 days. And I asked people, what is one thing that you can control right now that will drive commercial momentum? And then I asked, what's one thing that you can do that will unlock the start of building towards your next level of scale? The feedback from those sessions was amazing. People felt more motivated, more in control, and best of all, they walked out with a plan. Not a big, scary, perfect plan, but a doable, clear plan. Something that said, I've got this. Because clarity calms the chaos, and knowing where to focus, well, that's where the momentum begins. So here's what I want you to think about. Where are you putting your energy? Are you letting outside chaos steal your calm? Or are you choosing moment by moment to stay grounded in what you can change, in what you can control? Because when you do that, when you start making choices from a space and a place of clarity versus chaos, you build real, unstoppable momentum. So here's your challenge for this week. I want you to think of one action that you can do, that you can control. That's it. One action. What's one small thing that you can do right now to move from frustration to focus? Hit publish. Follow up with that client. Raise your rate. Go for a walk. Get your head back on straight. Whatever it is, just do it. And then I'd really love you to tell me. I'd really love you to tell me what that thing is. Seriously, DM me, tag me, send me a note by carrier pigeon. I don't care. I just want to know. And if this episode hit home, please leave a review wherever you're listening to this podcast and make sure to share it with somebody else that you think it might help. Someone who's ready to take their power back. Because I know you've got this. Until next time, keep showing up, keep leading, and keep unleashing that brilliance of yours.